Alrighty, our next topic is going to be how to factor quadratics when our a term here, that's the coefficient of x squared, is not 1. So when you have a 3 out in front, it complicates things here. So there's a number of ways to do it. Some people just do this in their head, and I'm going to say that if you're somebody watching this video, that you're probably not one of those people. So I'm going to show you two different methods here for how this works here. One of them is called the generic rectangle method. The other one's called the four-step method, and I'll go ahead and show you each of them here. So this is how the generic rectangle method works. First of all, you take your first term and last term, and you put them in the boxes here. So it's going to be 3x squared goes in the bottom left, and negative 10 goes over here. Also, the other term, the middle term, is going to go in the diamond problem here. X is going to go at the bottom, so here's my positive x, and you multiply the first and the last together. So what is 3x squared times negative 10? Well, that would be negative 30x squared. And then what you do is, hopefully by now you're familiar with not generic rectangles, but diamond problems. So what multiplies to be negative 30x squared and adds up to be 1x? Well, the answer ends up being a positive 6x and a negative 5x. So these two add up to be x, and these two multiply to be negative 30x squared. So you take these two answers here, and you're going to go ahead and put them in either of these boxes. It doesn't really matter where. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 6x here, and I'm going to put the negative 5x here. So, by the way, if you were to add up all of these terms inside here, what will they add up to be? Well, 3x squared is your 3x squared. These two add up to be 1x, and this is your negative 10. So these will all add up to be what we started with up here. And then our next question is, well, how do we actually get the answer out of this? And this is how it works. If I look at 3x squared and negative 5x, these two along the bottom, what do they have in common? Well, they have an x in common, so I'm going to put an x right here. And then I say, well, x times something gives me 3x squared. Well, x times 3x. Okay, because 3x times x is this. Now, 3x times what gives me 6x? Well, that would be a positive 2. And then finally, x times what gives me negative 5x? Well, that would be a minus 5. So my answer for this problem is going to be 3x minus 5 in parentheses times the quantity x plus 2. And if you're not a believer, you can always take this answer here. Once I'm going to circle because it's my answer, you can take it and you can use FOIL. So what is 3x times x? Well, that's 3x squared. 3x times positive 2 would give me positive 6x. Negative 5 times x would give me negative 5x. And then finally, negative 5 times 2 would give me my negative 10. And what do these add up to be? They add up to be what we started with over here. So like I said, this is called the generic rectangles method, and it works. I'm going to show you the four-step method also. It's another method that's not really in any textbook, so here goes. If this is the original equation here, how it works is, first of all, you just forget about the 3 at first. So I'm just going to drop down the x squared. So you ignore the coefficient here. Drop down positive x just as you see it, and then you multiply 3 times negative 10. Well, 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. Then what you do is you do a diamond problem with this here, and most of you can do these no problem. So what multiplies to be negative 30 and adds up to be 1? Well, what would that be? That would be 6 and negative 5. So I would write this as x plus 6, x minus 5. Now here's the trick once you've done this. That 3 that we forgot about, we put it underneath each of our answers here. And these are fractions, so you have to ask yourself, can I reduce? 6 over 3, is that reducible? Well, of course. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so this becomes x plus 2. This one, however, is not reducible. 5 and 3 not reduced. So you just take the 3 and you move it so it's in front of the x, so it becomes 3x minus 5. That's your answer. Okay, and you'll notice here, I can either use generic rectangles or the four-step method, and what do I get? I get 3x minus 5, x plus 2. 3x minus 5, x plus 2. It works either way there. So I'm going to do this one more time, show you each method here. So here goes. So this time we have 8x squared plus 14x minus 15. So once again, I'm going to take the first and the last. I'm going to write them in here. I take my middle term, that goes on the bottom. 8 times 15, well, that is 120. So this is going to be negative 120x squared. So we're looking for what multiplies to be 120 but has a difference of 14. And as it turns out, it's 20x and negative 6x. 20 times negative 6 gives me negative 120. 20 plus negative 6 is 14. So these numbers go here. oops, made a little mistake there. So this is going to be 20x, and this will be negative 6x. Once again, we ask, what do these have in common here? These two have in common, well, 2 goes into both, and so does an x. 2x times what gives me 4x squared? Well, that'll be a 4x. And you'll notice 2x times 4x is 8x squared. 4x times what gives me 20x? 5. So that's going to be a plus 5 there. 5 times 4x is 20x. And finally, 5 times what gives me negative 15? Well, that'll be a negative 3. And you'll notice here 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. So what's my answer here? 4x minus 3 times the quantity 2x plus 5. And like I was saying earlier, you can always check your answer. So you can always know before you're done, am I right or not? So you use FOIL. 4x times 2x gives me 8x squared. 4x times 5 gives me 20x. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. And negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And lo and behold, it's what we started with up here. Alrighty, and let me show you how to do the 4-step method one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and write out the problem here. Alright, so here's how it works. You forget about the 8. Just drop down the x squared. Bring down the 14x just like you see it. And then multiply 8 times negative 15. Well, 8 times negative 15 is negative 120. Then you do a diamond problem. What multiplies to be negative 120 and adds up to be 14. So those numbers would be 20 and negative 6. So we get x plus 20 and then x minus 6. And then this 8 that we forget about at the very beginning, we put underneath each one, 8 and 8. And then you have to ask yourself, do these reduce? Well, 4 goes into each of these. So if I divide the top by 4 here, I'm going to get 5. So it's x plus 5. If I divide 8 by 4, I get 2. So I've reduced. Over here, they're both divisible by 2. So this becomes x minus 3/4. So if you can reduce, you have to reduce. Once again, these are not reducible anymore. So you slide each denominator out in front. So it becomes 2x plus 5. And over here it becomes 4x minus 3. And lo and behold, is that the answer we had on the other side over here? You betcha. Same exact answer. The order doesn't really matter here. Exactly the same here. So pick what you like better. Do you like the generic rectangle method, 4-step method, or can you do it in your head? Like I said earlier, probably not if you're watching this video. Good luck, everyone.